Text editor once it was OCC.
Yeah, it's not the same thing, but it's over the web, so it has that advantage, you know. Well, exactly. That would be like you could start with software. Yeah. It's quite really rich.
Why that adoption? Well, welcome. This is the using MediaNotes and skills for skills instruction section. We're going to do this in two parts. I don't know how long we will take to do the first part. It depends on the level of questioning and the interaction here. The first part is just to give you an overview of what it is, how you might use it in instruction, and show you some of the features and a couple of particular uses for it, ways that it's been used. The second part will be for those that would really like to spend a little more time with it, hands-on. We have 3 people here, 4 perhaps, that can spend some time with you, show you how it works, at least on their laptops, or you could download it from CALI, install it on your own machines, and we can give you some hands-on training on it. Also, I have a little handout here, MediaNotes Overview. I don't quite have enough, maybe I do. If you've already had this handout in the past, you can pick it up. It's something to take away with you. It will remind you of a good deal of what we've discussed here today. So, overview. MediaNotes is a program that distributed by CALI. I don't know whether to say that yet, not John.
Sure, of course.
Okay. Anyway, it's freely available through CALI for those that find use for it in their courses or at their institutions. It's used in a variety of ways. It's used in skills courses. It's used in clinics. It's used in research programs. We have a number of people in educational research that use MediaNotes to record and do evaluations of teacher performance, for example, in teacher training programs. So it's used for any kind of application where, you can tell from the name, media is important to the educational task, where you want to record something and later look at it in a more precise way than typical video tools allow you to look at it. So what it means is that somewhere along the line you're going to record audio or video, and that you want to pick that audio or video up, put it in an application that either where your students can very precisely look at and annotate and tag and prepare that video for either their own analysis or for review by someone else. Well, on the other hand, it could be audio or video that's picked up and annotated and by an expert, and then feedback provided to someone that created the video in the first place, but they may not do the self-evaluation. So the point of it is, it's a software that allows for a variety of, that can be used in a variety of settings for the kind of careful, thoughtful analysis that is more challenging than, at least historically for me. I started out teaching, interviewing, and counseling with VHS tapes, actually beta tapes, I think, was our first round, and spent endless hours with students playing those tapes and looking for important things on them, but going by long sections of tape that didn't have useful instructional material in them. And then we moved to digital media, and yet none of that was very satisfactory or worked very well. And finally, came across the opportunity to create a tool that's really modeled on other tools that are out there in the sports arena. As you may, I don't know whether, are you familiar with what happens at halftime at basketball games and football games and pro games and college games? They go in and they look at a number of monitors. They might break out into groups where the linemen are looking at certain monitors and the defensive backs are looking at others, or each player is individually reviewing what they did in the first half of the game. They have multiple cameras recording activity. They have programs like this that identify what each person was doing every moment that they were on the floor, and that they get tagged and annotated as it comes in. So you can quickly look at every mistake that person made in the first half, and it plays back in slow motion, fast motion. You can look at the whole field. This is where this comes from. The problem is that those programs are enormously expensive, very complex, not really amenable to law schools' budgets or to the staffing levels that we have to do that. So MediaNotes was modeled on that, but it was designed to be something that could be used by an individual without a lot of technical knowledge or training, and it would be simpler in its, would be targeted to very specific kinds of activities that take place in the classroom or in exercises. This is just some equipment that we use to capture video. I'll come back to that if we have time later. MediaNotes. Computer application that works with digital media files to facilitate, I'm just summarizing what I just said, use of video and audio recordings for self-evaluation, expert feedback, class presentation, or broad category, other instructional purposes. Let me, and the way it works is it allows you to virtually segment. What does virtually segment mean? Digital recordings. Virtually segment means that you're going to take a digital recording and you're going to chop it up into interesting parts. This first part might be here, the second part here, third part over here, and as you chop it up, it's virtual in the sense that you haven't done anything to the recording at all. All you're doing is creating a separate index and a separate file that says that from this start point to that stop point in a video recording, I'm interested in it. And I want to add tags to it, I want to make notes about it, and it creates this little companion file that has all that information about the recording in it. And what MediaNotes does is it simply is a program that both loads the recording and loads the index file and has all of this metadata about the program or the video or the audio file in it that allows you to replay and go back and visit those segments, see what tags were applied to them, see what annotations or comments were associated with it. So it's a very simple concept. It's and so what you're doing is the segments are these discrete events, and that's sort of the core concept of all of this. And you can label them, you can classify them, that is tag them. You can associate them with expert commentary. You can link them to other video segments. I'll show you how you can do that. And they can be played back in any combination. So you have navigation capability that allows you to jump around in the video efficiently. And that was one of the main benefits of it. Here's an example. This is the MediaNotes program. I'll just walk you through this in PowerPoint, and then we'll look at some actual examples. This is the complete user interface for it. and it's broken up into a number of little functional areas. First functional area is the media player. And this really, MediaNotes is just a helper application, actually. Or I don't know whether my terminology is right here, whether it uses media player or QuickTime as helper applications. That's probably more accurate. So what you see in that window is media player playing or QuickTime playing, and it decides which media player it's going to use based on the video you open in it. It reads the video and it says, this works in QuickTime, or this is played by a media player. It defaults to QuickTime, but if it isn't something QuickTime can play, then it shifts over to MediaNotes. And if it isn't either one of those, it won't play at all. It won't load the video. But that's, I don't know, the vast majority of anything you create, either audio or video, will play in those two media players. I think real, what do you call them, real player, or real something files won't play, but that's about the only thing that won't. Okay, so that's the main interface, and so this portion of it's devoted to loading and playing. If you'll notice under here, there are controls for the video and a timeline of events that have already been marked out on the video, and a playhead that you can move back and forth, and a slider to move all the way through the video and all the way back through the video, and a couple of other controls here, one to zoom in or zoom out on this timeline, and another to control your audio. And that's the core of the media part of MediaNotes. Just very much just a standard media player interface that you can move back and forth through your video with. You move the playhead somewhere, click play, and it starts to play at that point. Up here are some counters to tell you where you're at from the beginning of the video, and this is how long the video is. This was a short one of 1 minute and 33 seconds. And we're 29 seconds into it when this picture was taken. Okay, next, well, it should have been, here's my media window. I should have been here when I was telling you all those things. But this is the media window we just talked about. This little area here, you click on this. Once you've opened MediaNotes, your first task is to load media into it. So you load your audio file or your video file, and then you're ready to use it for whatever purpose you've got MediaNotes up for. Okay, the next little thing you need to understand about it is that these various other areas, the graphical timeline is where you create events. Events, again, are things with start points and stop points. And so some portion or some region of the video has now been identified, saved in this little data file, so that when you reload this, all of this other material here in 1, 2, and 3 will reappear. It reads the data file that is now a companion to this video and puts all this stuff out so that you now have you've recovered the information that was of interest to you when you looked at the video in the first place, or if you send it to someone else, they can now look at the video based on your analysis of it, your annotations of it, your commentary, etc. This is a little editor. The editor stores information about a given event, allows you to enter information about the event, and then saves it out as an event in a timeline list over here, number 3. So number 1 graphically represents all your events. Number 2 is where you edit your events. You can add tags to them or commentary. And number 3 is a list of all of the events that you've created, this timeline list over here. So you can see highlighted here is your timeline list. Over here is the graphical representation of the timeline list, and I'll show you in a moment how dynamically how all that works. And over here, you click on any event up here. Right now, it's just moving me through my PowerPoint, and it will display it in the event editor. Two other things that you might want to know about, and then we'll look at this. One is you have a tag palette in MediaNotes. Tag palette is a place where you can load a predetermined set of tags that you're interested in. In this case, this is from an exercise on framing. Framing is a skill in interviewing counseling that has to do with communicating to the client in various ways what you want, what the task is at the moment in the consultation, and where you're going, what you're doing, providing context to the client. In any case, it's a little skill, and these are tags that you can drop onto events that will identify that event as one that is a question frame or a roadmap frame or some other kind of activity. You can see these frames right here. Another tag is effective performance. So the frames can both be descriptive about what's going on or evaluative. The frame is up to you, or the tag is up to you. Whatever you want a tag to do, you just label it and then use it. This little utility allows you to see the plus sign up here. Plus sign allows you to create a tag, remove a tag, create tag sets. This is a complete editor for managing the process of tagging video, and it's built into MediaNotes.
How many colors do you get to choose from? I notice here that there's 3 sets of colors that probably do 3 different things. So visually, if you're looking
there's a color palette. Anytime you create a tag, you can assign any color you want to the tag. In this case, the framing tags are green, the evaluative tags are blue, and the roadmap one is brown. So it allows you to, when you're reviewing someone else's tagging, you can very quickly see by color what they've done if you set it up that way. Now notice here that the roadmap frame here is on the left is just a title. Over here there's a description of what it is. So when you create a tag, you can give it a description so a student using it can read it and say, okay, I know what that is, now I go through and tag events with that. And there's just a little button down here that allows you to either turn that on or turn that off, so that for efficiency in using MediaNotes. Okay, MediaNotes uses. That's the basic interface. So let me give you some illustrations, and right here, here's one. This is to bring material into class in a way that allows you to discuss it, jump around in it, find things. For example, we're interested. This is an actual inmate from the Utah State Prison. Gave us permission to, he came to the law school. We interviewed him about the crime for which he had been in prison. And we had students practice with him, and then he gave us permission to use these in our classes. And he also agreed to demonstrate certain skills he had in manipulating lawyers and trying to make life uncomfortable for them, or what he would do if he was intent on. We interviewed him and recorded him under various scenarios. This is the manipulative scenario, and here's a little bit of dialogue.
Of course, we had most of the prisons,
So you know what? So what was your occupation before?
Truck driver.
Okay.
And this isn't conference.
Sir.
Okay, very significant thing, by the way. He's about to say something he sure wants to keep in confidence.
Wait, you're obviously aware of attorney-client privilege here.
Yeah, I was. I wanted to ask, I'm on parole now, and facing this charge, and I don't feel good. I got about 10 grand in the bank.
Okay. He's proposing to raise the lawyer's salary here, I think. Or
Maybe we can make some deal.
make some deal. Well, anyway, we raised that with the students. Here's the student that was interviewing him who hadn't really been involved in this kind of thing before.
Well, what do you mean by some deal?
Probably the wrong thing to say. Because it engages in a very long ethical conversation with his client. The client says,
Why not the prosecutor?
Well, I know the prosecutor personally, and I don't, for one thing, I don't think he can be bought.
okay, is that the right response? This hole gets deeper and deeper. And the client says,
And
I mean, everybody's got a price.
you're mistaken. And the client says, and the lawyer says,
that's probably true.
You know, I accept
but it's a good example of how to prepare and understand the context in which you're going to work and what the ethical issues will be and how to confront them. And anyway,
it right now, you know.
Second of all, I couldn't do it if I wanted to.
okay, well, that's what, he started to take a stand here, but the client being knowledgeable about.
You know, I'm not real familiar with politics, but I know it can be done.
What?
This goes on and on. He gives them a hard time.
Perhaps 10 grand, but
Perhaps
Gee,
Take a break.
maybe more money?
with your other attorney that you could have, but I'm afraid you can't. Of course, none of this that you just asked me or said will go any further. I'll just pretend that you didn't even mention it. And that also, even if you don't want to keep him as a lawyer, still
what you're saying is that it isn't done.
But
It
it isn't done.
can't be done.
No, what I'm saying is that I can't do it. I won't do it. That's what I'm saying. I just don't work that way.
Is it because of your new into the bar?
This is getting into the ethical mind of an antisocial person. Everybody has a price. I know it can be done. Is it because you're new? Or?
Is it because you're afraid that it won't fit into your political position right now?
Or you have some other self-interest that's keeping you from acting in this way. Anyway, the point of all of this is to show you that MediaNotes can be used as an instructional device in the classroom. And the reason it can is I can jump back and I can find anything very quickly. I'll show you in a minute that we can have further annotations that help with the guiding the instructional discussion and bringing interesting materials in. You can do that with Media Player and other things, but this is preloaded. When I open it, I know right where to go. A year later, I don't have any problem finding the place in the video I want to jump to, and it allows us to get some really dynamic discussions. And let me give you one other illustration here of the same kind of thing. There's another case where the client and the lawyer allowed us to use real material in the classroom. And in this case, I'm going to use what's called a playlist. So we have pre-selected portions of different, that's loading a different video actually, and jumping to a place in that video, and then we'll play it.
If the only thing in your state was cat, will they each get an equal share?
No, we've decided against that.
Oh, okay.
Okay, let's see that again.
If the only thing in your state was cat, will they each get an equal share?
No, we've decided.
Okay. Question I raised for the students here is, why is this lawyer's mouth open? If you look up there, it isn't real clear on this screen, but you see his mouth went open like that. Watch it again. This is real lawyer, real clients, second consultation. And this is 7 minutes into it, and he's reviewing the documents that his firm has carefully prepared for them, for their fairly substantial estate, complex estate plan.
If the only thing in your state was cat, will they each get an equal share?
No. Let's decide on it.
Whoa, what?
He'd asked him that question 6 times in the initial interview. Okay? Every time he asked it, he made an interviewing mistake. Every time. And that's why his mouth is open here. He is just shocked that wasn't true, and it's very central to a lot of the trusts and other kinds of things they're doing in the document. And so we're able to go through this, but then we're using the playlist. We can jump quickly back to every one of those events and see what happened. And if I got this set up correctly, here's the first time it happened.
And I've treated all of the children in these
Oh
documents.
no, that's in the second one. That's when he begins to review it. Here it is. Concerns about resolution. I don't have my playlist here. Where is it? Well, we'll just change media. Another thing you can do with MediaNotes. You have more than one video file in here. So I'm switching to the first interview. Oh, here it is. No. The second one. I went back. Part 1, Part 2. Part 1. Close the playlist. Beginning again. This is take 2. Loading the wrong video. Part 1, Part 2. Part 1. Good demonstration how easily you can use this, right? You should have your playlist laid out properly when you're going to do this. Okay. Initial question. Children's status. I'd love to show you this, but in any case, where it is. There it is.
How do you regard them now? Do each of you regard all 7 of them as your natural children? How do you want to treat them for purposes of making distributions that you have?
Okay, do you hear that? Let me bring that up more. How do you regard them now? Question mark. Do each of you regard all 7 of them as your natural children? This is his, hers, and theirs children. How do you want to treat them for purposes of making distributions at your death? What did he do as an interviewing matter?
Oh, man.
That's too many questions.
Too many questions, open-ended. Who's deaf? Which deaf, right? One or the other or both.
How many questions did he ask? Okay, now listen to the answer.
Yes.
We treat them all equally.
We treat them all equally. How do you regard do you treat all of them as your natural children? And then with the final question, how do you regard them now? He says we treat them all equally, and the husband says, we do. Okay? So, should you create a will in which they're all treated equally, in the distribution of assets? Turns out no. They were answering the first question, how do you regard your children? What's a parent going to hear when you say something like that? And anyway, but the lawyer asked 3 questions and expected an answer to the third one, and went on that assumption, and that happened every time he asked that question or referenced it in this interview. And we go through 6 or 8 different occasions when that happened. That's how he got to it. Anyway, again, the point is we're able to bring materials in, and then we're able to examine them. If I didn't have MediaNotes here, I had a hard enough time with MediaNotes actually getting to this first one because I somehow didn't have my playlist there. It would have been impossible for me to have found this material and even showed it to you in this short time. So that's using materials in the classroom. Another use of MediaNotes is, here's one. This is for students to take home. This one happens to be an interview. I did an example interview for some of a particular interview and counseling technique, which I went through and tagged and annotated, and then the students can take it home, or they can actually download it.
I'm not sure.
That's an important.
I'm sure what you meant by told you to do something. Letter, and then you responded to you. I don't have a sense of the time frame for that. And the firing occurred 2 months.
Okay, now what's different here is there are no client responses. So they're able to jump from and see my responses without all of the clutter of knowing what the client said, because what I'm doing is demonstrating a technique that has certain verbal cues in it, and it should have a certain structure, and they can go home and look at this, the implementation of that technique. Just what did the lawyer say? What did the lawyer say? What did the lawyer say? Do I see the big picture now for the implementation of this technique? If you were to watch something an hour and a half long or an hour long as this was, you'd get completely lost in it. You would never see the big picture. So MediaNotes allows you to give material to the students, condense it, have them jump around in it because it's annotated, it's tagged, they can study it while they look at it. Another use of MediaNotes. Here's another one. This is, or we can do that one in class, of course. This is one where this is, again, a framing thing. I just have different examples that they can jump to. Each one has a complete transcript. It gives a summary of the kinds of framing that takes place there. They can play them.
One thing I'd like to do before going forward.
Pretty loud here.
You have a contract issue. Don't know too much about it. Would you be willing to give me just a broad overview of why you're...
In any case, these are things that conceptually, you see how many there are here, the 30 different things they can study each one. This is in preparation for an exercise. So another use of MediaNotes, yes?
The transcript, does the software do the transcribing or do you type?
We wish.
Actually, I think John's folks were really clever in getting that put together.
No, the software doesn't do the transcription. You have to.
My
Well,
secretary.
that would have just been loud.
I know, it would be wonderful, wouldn't it? You have to get something like LiveScribe's Pulse Pen for that.
Yeah.
That
or your secretary.
yeah, that's probably better. Okay, well, another use of MediaNotes. These are all different ways you can put video together, of course, and then use them. My best application. This is a student exercise. Now, I'm not going to play the audio for you because it was recorded in a studio and the media services people made a mistake. Hear that?
Ouch.
Yeah.
They had some settings wrong. It was just horrific to listen to, but nevertheless, the student did it, listened to it, and made comments. So this is a student exercise. The student has gone through and annotated all of these events. Let me shrink them down so you can see it a little better. This is 43 minutes long. The students created an event for everything she said during that, and then went through and tagged what her purpose was, what she was doing, and then commented on, here's one where she thought she could have done better, a required improvement tag. And I can search up here and I can say, okay, show me all events where...
It's at the top.
Was it at the top?
Right.
Yeah, right there. That shrinks it to only those events where she felt like she needed to improve. Now you notice that there's black text and red text. The red text is an expert reviewer who also looked at this and commented on the student's annotation. And then this goes back to the student and she gets feedback, and not only on she completed the analysis, but the precision of this allows someone to look precisely at what her thinking was, what the event was she was talking about, And that's the other use. And that was one of the prime reasons for creating MediaNotes. So we could have students do careful analysis of their own work and then have others look at it in an efficient way so they could get feedback to them. And in fact, the purpose of that is so that over time, not only does the student record exercises, but it teaches them a very precise, reflective approach to thinking about their own performance. And then on top of that, it gives us the chance to carefully manage and think about or give the student feedback. In fact, as a demonstration today, I brought the person in red ink, actually not this particular one, but Megan Welch is with us. She is one of our external reviewers. Because this gets captured in such a precise way, we don't have to have faculty on site to work with the students. These are recorded in Provo at Brigham Young University. Megan lives in Houston. She's a virtual faculty member that is associated with the course. We have 5 or 6 on a regular basis. Each one will take care of 5 students for the semester. So each student is sort of individually coached through the semester on each exercise by an adjunct faculty member who has a virtual relationship with the student. So I've asked Megan to take a few minutes to explain what she does, how it works, what it's like to work virtually with someone on something as sensitive as interviewing a counseling student. You need to plug in up here?
No, it's fine. I was just going to bring my little notes here with me, but I can use yours for...
Could you just clarify before you start, are you one of those colors?
Red. Oh, the red commenting is the reviewer.
So is each color a person?
No. The colors are actually, those are for the tagging of the, is that what you're referring to, the boxes?
Yeah.
Yeah, those would be the tags. So in this case, the students for the class are asked to identify certain parts of the interview process. And so that's what, like red requires improvement. Every time that they use that requires improvement tag, it's going to show up as a red box.
Oh, so you're the red text.
I'm the red text, exactly, yeah, yes.
Could I make one more comment introducing Megan? Megan is not only associated with the course, but she took the course. Every one of our reviewers took the course, did well in it, showed a capacity to understand and was reflective and thoughtful, and so we made offers to them as they left the law school, as they went into practice, to remain associated with the course so they could bring, as they experienced these theories and techniques in practice, they could bring that expertise back and giving feedback to the students.
Yes. Yeah, so just kind of an overview of what I do. Like Larry said, we get basically, we have a SharePoint site. The students post these files to SharePoint, and we, as reviewers, go on. It's a really easy process. Just download the file from SharePoint, and then we have usually a period of maybe 4 or 5 days after the students turn in their assignment to when we post feedback. So it makes it really awesome for students to get individualized feedback from a reviewer who knows the student and who watches the student progress over the semester. But it's also very easy for us to have jobs on the full-time jobs going and do this on the side. So I was just going to comment a little bit on using MediaNotes. It's really easy for the reviewer to use and for the student. That's my favorite thing about it. The tagging makes it really quick to see, like I was commenting about, this requires improvement tag. I know exactly when I'm going down watching, I hardly have to look at the tags at all to know that the student thinks they didn't do a good job on this. And then I'm reading their commentary, finding out why they didn't think they did a good job. And then I have the opportunity to write back to the student and explain either, yeah, you're right, you could improve on that, or a lot of times maybe they don't understand the interviewing concept very well, so they think they need to do better, but that wasn't really the issue, it was something different. So I can comment on that. And the nice thing is that because it's all in this compact form here, you know that the student's going to read it. Professor Farmer requires that they review and then repost the file again on SharePoint. So we know that they have gone through and read the commentary and seen the video with it. If it were just a separate Word document or something, they probably wouldn't ever look at it again, but it's all Let's see. One thing I really like about this, being a virtual faculty, is that I'm able to have a relationship with my students. By the end of the semester, I actually feel like I know my 5 students really well. And part of that, a useful thing if you decide to use virtual reviewers for anything, is Larry always has them record an autobiographical statement at the beginning of the semester, which is only shown to their reviewer. So I watch these autobiographical 5-minute statements, get to know a little bit about my students, and then review their work. And so I have conversations with my students in this text area all the time. They'll write to me and ask me questions. You know, I don't think I'm doing very well on this. I keep struggling with this. Do you have any suggestions? I'll get that question a lot. I also get even just, hey, sorry, this assignment isn't my greatest. My kid was sick and I reported it at home or something, you know, and it's, so I'll respond back to those comments and questions right there in the box. So it's a really cool tool for virtual faculty like myself. Let's see here. Oh, I was just going to say, and this is kind of not a huge deal, but you can see that the reviewer in red can comment anywhere in that box. So that's kind of useful too, because students will have random thoughts going all over the place, and you can comment individually on those thoughts as they happen. One thing that we really like about this is that it teaches them a self-evaluation process. And we see students progress over the course of the semester dramatically in their ability to self-evaluate and in their comfort level with self-evaluation. So one of the things, every student goes through a 2 or 3 exercise period of time where they are assessed with what they look like on camera. And they're very nervous about it, and they're very uncomfortable with the fact that you're seeing them do these quirky things that they didn't know they did, and now they've seen them. And so usually the first assignment, these review tags, despite the fact that they've sat through Larry's lectures and learned what they should be looking for, they comment only on how frequently they clear their throat or why they were really worried about their bangs in their eyes when they shouldn't have been. And so it's just very interesting to watch this self-evaluation process go from that to I don't think I was listening to what the client told me because I asked this question and the client had just explained this. And so you see them actually progress into something really great. And it's a simple tool to use too, because you can open up this file. When you hit file, it does have an open recent. And so a lot of times I will go back if I have a student say, I think that I did this wrong last time too. Sometimes I'll just file open recent, open up the last exercise I have of theirs and review, yeah, they are doing that regularly. They're making this mistake over and over again. And so we can comment on that. So yeah, it's great for that self-evaluation and to view the progression of that. And I think that's really...
Why don't you walk through putting in a comment? Like as though you were actually doing one.
Yeah, is this file open for use?
Yeah, you can edit it.
So,
the problem is the audio is so bad, but...
well, let me just turn it down a little bit. So.
Yeah, I can turn it quite a bit down in my head.
You won't hear it at all, actually.
Yeah. So, this would just be going down. Let's find a place where there's... Yeah, I had this wrong, so I had a custody evaluator, but a grief counselor. Okay, so here, this is really easy. You actually just go down into this box here, and if I wanted to write a comment, say right in the middle. The minute that I start typing, I agree completely. And you'll see, you could have multiple reviewers, actually. They're going to be different colors, so this time I'm going to
Each time it's a new reviewer, it's a different color.
Right, she's using Larry's computer, so Larry's set logs.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Set up here is being identified as the reviewer. Yeah.
Yeah. So it would be, you completely keep trying. And then it will just, the minute that let's say I'm going to press play, that's going to pop up.
See it pop up on the right.
Into that immediately. I can go back. You're always going to see them on both screens when you're clicking on an event. So you can always go back through and edit. I would usually go through here too, even just to make sure that I have given enough commentary that the student feels like sometimes you get to the end and you didn't make very many comments. I'll go back through and make sure that I, even just add I agree or good job. So they know that I've actually looked at every single event. Another really nice thing about this is we have a long-winded client, or a lot of times we ask for an overview from the client, and that overview will take maybe 6-7 minutes. As a reviewer, I don't have to watch that overview. I just skip it, go right to the next event, and then comment on what the student has commented on.
So
their own evaluation.
So my naive question to that is, so to review the student, you don't need to know what the client's saying.
Not necessarily. I typically watch what the client says because sometimes my feedback for the student is, you probably weren't listening because the client actually did say this. So I will watch almost always what the client says. But no, I think that in a lot of situations you wouldn't need to.
Depend on the exercise,
Okay.
whether you need to do that or not.
Yeah. And the other thing actually that this program works really effectively for, and we just started trying it this semester, is having the students redo portions of the exercise. Rather than edit them out of the software, though, we ask them to just keep the video exactly as they recorded, so they continue recording when they make a mistake. And then I have one student who redoes everything 3 or 4 times because she's very into this getting it right, and it works really effectively for her. She's my top student. But so they'll go through and then they'll tag the event, and we have one of the tags is a practice. So they'll tag it as a practice event, which means they think we're not going to look at it. I still review them because I actually like to see how they progress. But yeah, so they'll tag as a practice, and then you can skip over that event, go on to the next one where they actually do it correctly, and comment on that. I usually comment on the last one saying, I could see the progression you made. I like how you changed this from your first practice to make it work more effectively. Yeah.
So each person logs in essentially to their own software?
Yeah, we set it up with the first time they use MediaNotes. You just set up your own initials.
It's not an online tool. They download their videos. Well, the student creates a video, uploads it. Megan or another reviewer downloads it, and the student does it this is a client application on their own laptop.
Okay.
So it doesn't require any login or any security. What they upload to is a secure site.
Well, I mean, how they
with the initials.
Who is who?
Yeah.
Oh, if you go up to edit preferences, actually that should say LC up there. I changed it to demonstrate something. If you want to change my initials back.
Right, but this is that computer's, therefore the owner of that computer's.
Yeah.
Right.
That's how it knows.
Yeah.
If you've ever used Microsoft Word and added comments, it's just like that. It adds your initials first and then the comment if you're reviewing.
And then another thing is for the comments, could you add more than just text? Because what I'm looking at this and I'm thinking totally different than actually like commenting more of professor does his lecture and he puts his slides.
A link to a slide or something like that.
He wants to do like a voiceover of PowerPoint. Is that a fair statement?
Like a video with his PowerPoints and it links up what slide or what section he's talking about.
No, it's not designed for that.
Okay.
Although we are trying to talk CALI into adding voiceover.
Yes.
Putting them on the spot.
Yeah.
Well, we've got the source
What do you
code.
think? That's a good idea?
That's a great idea. We've got the source code now, but it's Let me mention another thing. You can, you were beginning to mention it. You can package up the hard part is you have to package up the video once. So the student makes the video, has to package it up and send it to the reviewer, and that's a big upload and a download because it's video. But then after that, as the comments are made on both sides, only the comments have to travel. The video is now instantiated in each machine, so that's a little tiny text, upload and download. It would be, the best of all worlds would be like some secure website where you can put stuff up, but it's also a scary sort of security issue. You want high security for if you're using real video of real clients, or even students having a comfort level of having that. So that's why they use SharePoint, where there's a strong encryption and upload and download, lots of control over the server and stuff like that.
With what you're saying about the SharePoint, so I can understand the process of how it plays out with these different comments, you have the initial one where the student has done their self-evaluation on their MediaNotes on their computer, right? Okay, and then the video and the initial comments are somehow sent to the reviewer.
Right.
And then it gets
Right,
downloaded
you
into
can
their.
attach it to an email, you can upload them to a shared, shared site like a SharePoint or any file repository.
And then it goes into their media notes on their home system, and then they put their comments in, and they send a new file back to the student or to the SharePoint, or post it on SharePoint.
Right.
So it's a new file, so there's file 1, file 2, file 3, depending upon what comments are in it.
Right. The comments can be separate from the video. Right.
But is it a new file each time it's?
It is, we typically do a replace file so that it replaces with our notes included on SharePoint. But yeah, you could just set it for different versions so that they could open up their original or the one with comments.
But all they're sending back to SharePoint is really comments.
Text.
They're not sending the video back.
Right. Yeah. Because the video is going to open automatically. Once you've loaded it in once, the next time you open up that file, that video just finds it. So whenever I open up my students'
This is a SharePoint site. Student work would be posted here. I just deleted it all off and deleted their underlying files because that semester's over. We've archived everything, but underneath, let me see if I can find one with some work in it. I may not have deleted everything. I got Megan's old site. We can play her bass line. Huh? Cleaned out. Let's see. Allison. Now I've cleaned everything out this semester. Anyway, that's the site has underlying libraries for each student, and they upload to their own library, and it's a password-protected library, and the reviewers have general privileges on the site, so they can come in and download.
This is a BYU site. This is not something that we can provide. You each have to solve the moving of files between faculty and students for yourselves.
And actually, there are good solutions for that online now.
Yep, Dropbox or Dropbox.
I was going to ask if you could use a Dropbox.
Yeah, Dropbox would be one of them.
Or your LMS, Blackboard or Twin allows for uploads and downloads, right?
Okay.
Yeah, lots of secure ways to get large. A few years ago, it was impossible. That's why we went to SharePoint. But now there are free online things that you can, or even for a small fee, you can even get better services out of some of these groups. Good question?
So can you set it up, I understand it's between student and instructor, but can you set it up so like an entire class can comment on a particular video?
I don't. This course has been replicated at the University of Ottawa Law School. And, exactly, these same exercises, same technology, except they don't have SharePoint, and they don't have quite the resources to get external reviewers. So what they do is they get students to volunteer to bring their exercise to class, and they evaluate it in advance, and then they put it up on the screen, and everyone in the class comments on it. And they take feedback. The instructor guides that process. And what happens is you get shared input that way, but then that's the first person on that exercise, and then everyone else is to go out and do their own self-evaluations after. And then one of the people in the class then evaluates, will look at as an objective observer of their own evaluation.
Because like West, my understanding is West is looking to sort of market this collections of videos that they have, like trials and hearings and other things, which in theory, I mean, you can use it, couple that with this, and you can use it to teach things like evidence and trial.
This would work well with example, like I had there, with example videos that really allows you to make good use of them, both as a student and as an instructor.
Is there a file size limit?
Is there a what?
File size limit for uploading?
Depends on the site that you're uploading to. Our file size limit is 0.5 gigabyte per file.
Okay, but the software itself will open whatever.
Anything you can give it, it will open. Because the video is controlled by Microsoft Media Player, which is designed to be pretty robust and QuickTime. So MediaNotes itself isn't limited It's only limited by whatever their capacities are.
Do Mac users have access to MediaNotes?
Yeah, MediaNotes runs on the Mac, and you have a free download for Mac as well.
And Windows Media Player?
Yeah.
So it uses QuickTime for the Mac, and it uses Windows Media Player for Windows, but it also has QuickTime on Windows. It uses whatever codec is available to it that's locally installed.
And I think on the Mac, QuickTime will run Windows Media files.
Yeah, with Flip for Mac.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we haven't any problems. The only problem we have with Macs is recording video, oddly. We use PCs in our classes. I have these pictures I skipped over quickly for students to do exercises together using web cameras. Put one of those on a Mac and you get an AVI file that's 2.3 gigabytes for every 15 minutes or whatever. I don't know why they don't have easy ways to compress video on Macs.
So the built-in camera?
What's that?
Even Mac's built-in camera makes
It's worse with their built-in cameras.
Wow. I did it. I used one of those surveillance software.
Which kind?
Something spy something. So I was able to record two cameras at the same time. I could select which audio I wanted.
Really?
Yeah.
And you can picture-in-picture kind of thing? Or?
No, you get two windows.
Yeah, we've been looking for that for a long time.
You can get up to 4 or it's more than 2, but we were just using 2 cameras to the orbit.
This is a third-party software you can put on a Mac?
It's something. I can send you that information. But
I'd love to find
and you
that.
can save it in different format.
And it compresses as well?
Everything was ready to go as soon as we finished.
Because every place that's been doing this has had trouble with Macs. But they didn't know about what you know, apparently. Okay. Let's see, John, do you want to tell them about what CALI's doing? We built this at BYU, by the way, MediaNotes, just out of necessity. And then that was our goal, was to support our class, and we decided what better place to put it than CALI.
Yeah, Larry was very generous. He wants to share this with the legal education community, and we're happy to help him do that. So there's a sub-part of the website on CALI, cali.org/MediaNotes. There's an instructor's manual there. There's some links that don't work because we're moving them over from Boomango, who were the consultants that originally wrote the software. We've got, it requires you to download it and insert a registration key, yeah. But that's free, for anybody within the CALI world. And we've recently gotten the source code because we want to be able to, well, it'd be nice to take the registration key process out since we're not using it anymore, and also to make updates to the software as we learn how to use the development environment and things like that. I feel like we're very much at the beginning of understanding how best to use video seamlessly in legal education. I mean, even after using MediaNotes a long time and watching Larry, I'm like, wow, I didn't know it had that feature. I completely missed the playlist feature. And it's not that, it may have looked like you were looking at a dashboard or a computer screen or something complicated, but I swear it's 15 minutes and it's like, oh yeah, I know where everything is. There's only a few things. But it does require that 15 minutes or half hour to get familiar with the software so that you can then be as facile as Beacon is, just being able to add comments and do things like that. All right? So it's not just iPad easy, tap a button, but it's not as hard as like the first time you ever had to use WordPerfect 5.1 with all the Word. I didn't want to diss. So, love to have you use it, love to have you give us feedback on how we can improve it, not guaranteeing that we will listen to or respond to all feedback requests, but we can't learn, unless we get actual substantive feedback. And I wanted to mention one last thing. I always thought the original impetus behind MediaNotes was the School of Dance, where they were videoing.
We jointly did this with the School of Dance.
And I just think that's so cool, because how would you grade a dance performance unless you could watch it over and over and say, your elbow was like this instead of like this? And I find it fascinating that the same types of things where you would tag certain aspects of a performance could be used also in tagging somebody's interview techniques. And it gives me hope that that the idea that through practice you can improve is finally being applied to the idea of legal education. And I think that's a good thing. Any other questions?
Yeah, you could use the flip cam too. If someone didn't have a laptop that was working well or something, you could hand them a flip cam and just import it.
Well, see, flip cams cost about $150, $200 these days. You know, it's got one big red button. I am now recording you.
So that will work then.
It's stopped. Yeah, sure.
I think the newer versions do some compression. The compression is a taser.
Yeah.
Extension can't transfer large files.
It's got a little USB that you pop in.
How much can you save on that?
On this, I think you can get up to like a couple of hours. It depends on the size of it.
Yeah, they're really confident. And they're HD now, right?
Oh man, yeah. No, this is the really old one, but now there's like all sorts of versions. And they're really big on making cameras that have like one button on them. You know, they don't want you to have all these little, zoom. Well, you can zoom, but they don't have all these like controls. The idea is I just want to take a picture, so I'm just going to hold this and press the buttons. And even law students can figure that out.
By the way, my presentation, we've literally given this to CALI. There's no royalty obligation that comes back from CALI.
Good point. No money, so we don't have that sort of stake in it where, please buy this from us. It's much more of a please use this and benefit from it and give us feedback. Right?
John, do you have a budget for development?
The CALI budget, but specifically for this, no, because we don't really know what else we want to do with this at this point. The software has actually been through quite a few iterations before it came into our hands, and so it's as far as I know, relatively stable. I mean, you're the biggest user of it, and
the main thing that you could add to it would be audio annotation.
But if
it integrates with Google Voice, then it could accept, I don't know, if it's anything like the voice messages I get emailed to me.
Actually, you start, now if we start brainstorming, I could go crazy, right? Yeah. Be cool if you could just do it on your phone and just have Bluetooth talk to it. Why not video annotation? Where the instructor pops into the video and says, "I noticed you." Think chat roulette and MediaNotes. Maybe not, right?
But audio annotation, one of the things, well, Megan can tell you, it takes a long time to type out feedback. But if you could...
Sometimes we've tried to, it would be awesome if we could speak it and it would show up, so work on that. But the other thing is we do a lot of sort of scripted feedback where we'll come up with a common problem that I see all 5 of my videos, I'll type out, copy paste all the time.
Well, you don't even have to copy paste in the sense that with MediaNotes you could create new tag sets. So you can create your own tag sets, that's your own personal thing, and then use those as a way to just hit the F1 through F12 buttons to insert.
Read the tag, yeah. Actually, MediaNotes, there's another feature you don't know it has in it, but
I'm always learning.
You can build a library of common feedback and pop those up and click on them and it inserts them automatically.
Right, and what's really cool about that is Larry, as the instructor, could develop a tag set that he wants all of his adjuncts to use, and he'll share that and say only use these tags, so that the tagging for all the students is consistent, even though there's 5 different reviewers doing that. I just wanted to answer your question before because I don't know the answer. I'm going to have to research it. I don't know what happens when 2 people comment on the video and then they both come back. I think it's the update problem. The second one overwrites the first. I don't think it merges comments. Because how would it know about the merging comments? Are you sure?
I don't think it works, but it's supposed to work. We built it.
That's a hard problem.
Literally, because they have endpoints and start points, and all it does, no one ever has the same endpoints.
So what if this one deletes it and this one doesn't delete it? That, you know what I mean? It's the classic 2-person update problem.
If they're starting with clean versions. One annotates here, one annotates here. You can merge those 2.
Okay. I gotta test that. I gotta check that out. So I don't know the answer to that question. Whether you can have 20 people all comment and then merge them all into one place.
No, but theoretically you can. I don't know that there's a bug in there somewhere.
since you're sharing this with the legal community and